stream earlier with Candy Nelson. I'm sorry about that because I've had one mishap after the other. And typically, the way it works with the Morgellons sufferers. So, right now, I would like to welcome Candy Nelson. She is a 20-year long sufferer of this. And excuse me while I do this, but I'm looking for her here. There she is. And we're going to put her on now. Welcome, Candy Nelson. Not welcome. Hold on. Welcome, Candy Nelson. I can't hear you, though. I guess I got to try to do the mic thing. Are you there? Here we go again. Are you there? This is crazy. Okay. I can hear you barely. Say it again. For some reason, you're breaking up. Come on now.
Really bad weather here. I don't think it has anything to do.
I hear you now. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to start with a couple of questions that I want just to kind of bring in the audience and give them a little explanation of what Morgellons 102 is. So basically, Morgellons 102 is just something that we just said because we started with our intro at Morgellons 101. But this is basically what I want to ask you is, what would you tell the general public that Morgellons disease is, like, as far as explaining the situation and the experience that we all go through?
Well, basically, like, again, it depends on who you ask. Is genetically modified organism disease, as due to the most, which is genetics, DNA, genetically modified changing organisms, any living thing in our food supply, and in our air supply, and our medicines, everything we eat, breathe, and drink. So that's my opinion.
Correct. Now, Candy, I'm going to ask you real quick because you're breaking up some. Is there a different area or somewhere, because it kind of sounds a little robotic almost. It's got your voice kind of manipulated there.
Well, we got really bad weather here.
There you go.
So I don't know if I have anything
You're
to
there,
do.
girl. You're there, girlfriend. So, okay. So go ahead and tell the public, since we know what Morgellons disease is basically now, you kind of put that there. How did you, tell us what you know and how you learned, and when was the onset of yours, is like starting from beginning?
Well, way back many.
Oops, we lost her. There she is. Hold on one second. Let's see if we can get her again. Almost. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, you faded for a second. I don't know what happened.
Okay, so basically years and years ago, way before I even knew anything, there was like a lot of strange medical stuff going on. Just stupid stuff all the time, and just didn't really have any explanation. But I would blow my nose and I would see like a blue fiber in the tissue. Or like when I would go to change my sanitary pad or wipe with toilet paper, I would see fibers in it. You can see them on white background very easily. So I was like, well, that's weird. And I just blew it off and didn't think nothing about it. And so years went by with different symptoms. And then I started getting like, occasionally a sore here or sore there for no reason, an unexplained sore, deep sores. And I'm like, what the heck is this? I thought it might have got bit by a bug or something in the middle of the night. Who knows?
The kissing bug is what I thought.
Yeah, we call them, what do they call those? Like water roaches, the big ones that eat meat.
Yes.
That's what I thought maybe they were or something. It was really weird. And so years went on and, progressively I was getting worse. So I go to the doctor and, he does a biopsy like right here and over here on the side. And
right here, like where I have mine. See that? It's back.
Mine was like over in here and right in here. And
so gotcha.
So, he does the biopsy and he sends it off and it comes back. I go back to him and he's like, I said, well, is it cancer? He's like, no, it's not cancer. He's like, but I don't know what it is.
So that was like, your first doctor experience,
yeah, that was my first dermatologist. And I'm like,
okay,
what do you mean you don't know what it is? You're the doctor,
Right.
And he said, well, I specialize in cancer. I'm like, oh God.
So which makes you wonder if there's a connection.
Yeah, I thought dermatologist was a dermatologist and what am
Yes.
I mean? And an ophthalmologist is an ophthalmologist, it's like, okay.
Right.
But anyway, they don't look at it that way, I guess. So anyway, I went through many, 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 many doctors and many, many, many prescription medications. And the prescriptions just kept making me get worse and worse and worse. And I was like, oh, dear God. So
Right.
one, I knew that was going to happen. Let me turn that thing
I
off.
know it's been all day. Hey,
I thought I
Morgellons
turned it
people,
off.
like this happens. It happens. It happens. It happened today. That's why I got
Oh,
shut off early.
hey, let me call you.
No problem. I'll keep talking. Like
No, not
chatty chat
you. Not
chat.
you,
How you guys
Lisa.
doing, everyone?
Okay.
Is
What?
everyone good? Doing good today? If you guys have any questions
Okay.
at the end, if you would leave your comments at the very end of
Love
this
you.
segment or anytime afterwards or even during, we're going to keep a track of the questions so that
Okay.
we can do a Q&A at the end. And she's back.
I took it off the hook that time.
Girl, I forgot to put mine on snooze, so we'll see what happens. So go on. You were talking about the
So,
dermatologist that told you he thought it was cancer.
no, he said it's not cancer. And so I'm like, oh,
Okay.
so then I went to multiple other doctors and put me on tons of different medications. I took prednisone, Plaquenil for years, and every single week, every single month when I would
Those
go
are
to
big
the
medicine too.
they give me the refill. Yeah, they give me the refill for it, and they did blood work every month. And I never thought to ask, for to see anything. And I'm
Right.
looking, something people would reject. And they're like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I'd be like, "Oh, well, I'm okay. I'm hanging in there, And so, and it's like the whole time, all my blood work was way out of range. Everything was so screwed up, and they never said one
Not
word. They
right
just
on chart at
gave me
all.
another prescription. And so I didn't find out
Right.
till years later when I started looking at my medical records, how very sick that those prescription drugs had me.
Yeah, pharmacia, guys. The pharmacia is something else. Let me tell you, they keep you sick. Okay, I just didn't say that. It was only for entertainment pleasures only, purposes
Yeah.
only.
So
So yeah, what we
eventually,
said,
eventually,
or in
what
the sack,
happened
what'd
was,
you say?
eventually what winded up happening, how I found out about Morgellons is, there was like, I was telling you earlier about times when I went outside and there was just everything was completely saturated with
Webs.
cobwebs. So I
Yes.
had taken pictures of it that morning on my way to the doctor. So when I got to the doctor, so the nurse comes in and she's like, "Oh, well, will you be getting a flu shot today?" And I was like, I'm a very pleasant person. And I was
Notice
like,
they're
hell no.
free. When does our
I was
government
like,
give anything free away?
I said, hell
Yeah.
no, And she's
Right?
like, yeah, I get it. She's like, I understand what you mean. So I showed her the pictures that I had taken that morning before I left the house. And
Right.
she pulls out her phone and she shows me all these chemtrails that she had taken pictures of.
So she
And
saw
so,
them too.
yeah, she knew. And
That's
so,
pure luck that you found a nurse practitioner or anyone in the medical field that saw that. So thank
well,
God.
and so me and her both were awake to that part of it. And so she sent me a friend request on Facebook. And a few days later, she private messaged me and she said, have you ever heard of Morgellons? And I was like, no. She said, well, go
Wow.
Google up Morgellons and chemtrails.
So
So
you found someone that knew about this.
well, she was the one that told me. And
Wow.
so I was angry when I started looking at the symptoms and I was like, oh my
Right.
gosh, I was like, this is what I have. And my husband's like, well, you can't believe everything you read on the internet. I was like, if it's, if it's yellow
Yeah,
like a
you can
duck
believe
and it's
anything
got
you can't
feathers
read
like a
on the
duck, a
internet,
trunk like a
basically.
duck, it's a damn
Yeah.
duck. And
Right.
and I told him, I said, I've been telling you about these symptoms I was feeling and all these things I've been going through for years. I
Fatigue,
said,
brain fog. Yeah.
so it's
Weak
not
joint
like
pain.
I didn't tell you ahead of time I had these same symptoms. And so then I got
Right.
angry at her. So I messaged her. I said, I've been coming to that office for like all these years. I mean, I'd seen that doctor for like 13 years.
And now
I was like,
this.
and now, you've seen everything I went through and all the surgeries and everything, all the crap I went through, and you're just now telling me this? She said,
That's
I swear to
awful.
you. She said,
And
I
if you
swear
don't
to you. She
mind
said,
if I interrupt for 1 second, I want
no,
to tell the
let,
general
let me tell
public
her.
out there, Candy is a whole different scenario that she actually had a nurse actually finally come clean with her, nurse practitioner or whatever she was, to come clean with her and tell her that's what she thought she had. Now, keep in mind that most of us don't know, and doctors won't see us. They call it delusional parasitosis, such as myself. I knew something was going on. I saw these white fibers shoot into me, and I started seeking answers by getting online. And where I found my answers was by going online, because no doctor in Houston, Texas, anywhere, no way, shape, nor form would see me. And I was actually taken away from my child for 3 days and locked up. They drugged me up for 3 days. I never saw daylight, didn't even know I was there. And apparently, they told me that I had been there and I consented to everything, which is not true, because the police officer showed up, took me away. And an excellent mother. I don't care what anyone says. I have 4 beautiful girls, raised them in a very good, kind, loving way, taken away from them. And most of my other fellow Morgellons sufferers out there have experienced this, where doctors don't believe, and they've either been taken away from their families, their lives have been abruptly, just changed forever. So we sought our answers online. Now, Candy, being in Florida, and Candy, what was the name of your town again?
I live in Hastings, but
Hastings.
the situation with the nurse was a little different than that. Okay,
Okay.
when I got angry at her, she sent me a message back. She said, "I swear to you," she said, "I did not know." She said, "I left
Oh,
from
bless her
here
heart.
after you and I talked about the chemtrails." She said, "And I went home and I started researching." She said, "I
Oh,
just learned about this myself."
bless her
And
heart. Then, well, thank God, though,
yeah,
because no other
I was
doctors will.
angry.
We don't
I
care.
was really angry at her, you know?
First, do no harm. And that's the one thing I want to say. These doctors take a note. First, do no harm. What do? They refuse to look. They call it the matchbox, what they call it, the matchbox strategy, where people come in with their little matchboxes back in the day in the 1800s with their little samples from something that came from their body. So now anyone that comes in with samples in a baggie, so I'm just going to warn you all, people, they call it a matchbox syndrome or something like that. They think that you're bringing, like, you're just crazy. They call it delusional parasitosis. It's not just for Morgellons. It's for many, many diseases. So I went in with my little samples, and I mean, you can't deny it, but when they refused to look, and I went down to the CDC in Houston, Texas, I sat all night long for almost, gosh, I think it was 15 hours by the time I finally got up there. 15 hours with people that were sick, coughing all over me. I didn't care. I needed help. When you go up into a CDC office, they call me back and they say, "What's the matter with you?" And I'm like scared, because I'd already been held at the other hospital and put in an emergency room with. I had to take off all my clothes. I couldn't have my cell phone. They had to have someone sit beside me. And all I had done is went in when I first found out this. But long story short, the man comes in, the doctor, whatever he wants to call himself, that doesn't think for himself and doesn't doctor at all, because he's going by a code. When you go by code and you don't even look, and I don't care, I don't give a crap if somebody comes in with a matchbox, a baggie, I don't give a crap what they come in for. First, do no harm. You look. You use your damn eyes and you look. You do not condemn somebody. You do not put them away. You do not take them away from your family or their families, and you do not destroy their lives. And that's exactly what's happened to so many of us, including myself. So thank God the nurse just found it out too. She believed enough to tell you. And please go on with your story. I get really, really passionate about this, because there's been so much pain for all of us. So, and I know you can, head of the helm there, you can go ahead and tell them what all's been happening to you since then.
Well, and so of course I went into meltdown mode, and I'm angry, I'm melting down, and
Right.
so I messaged her. I was like, I love my doctor. He was such a good man. I was like, how am I supposed to talk to him about this? I was like, we had a good working relationship. We worked together on everything.
Right.
And she's like, well, she's like, just go on Facebook. There's got to be groups out there. And of course, I joined the groups, and that's a
There
whole
was like
different.
3 or 4 at the time, right?
Oh my gosh. And so
And there was
anyway,
nothing there for help for us.
well, and so of course you get into the groups that are designed, that are set up to
Charles E.
build you up to break you
Holman,
down.
have
Yeah.
mercy,
Yeah.
Foundation.
You join the group, they build you up and then snatch the rug out from underneath of you,
And they will make sure
It's
that you
like,
fall directly back down and never get up again. You were right. And
yeah.
my dumb butt, when I first got this, I'm like, for my birthday, just please donate to that foundation. I could kick myself over and over again. And skin deep, ran by the same flipping liars. I call them trolls. You do too, I'm
Yeah.
sure. But I mean, wrong. First, do no harm, no matter what, to anyone, whether
Mm.
you be doctor or not.
Well, and
So,
so, I joined the groups, and, quite a few years went by. And then I think I told you about the time when I was being like electrocuted. I was down on the floor. I mean, I was just
Ah,
begging
yeah.
God to take me because I just couldn't
Yes.
take it anymore.
And your
And
family.
I hadn't cried. I had not been able to cry for like 10 years. And so that night I was in so much pain. My whole body was just trembling. And I was just like, okay, God, that's it. I'm done. Just take me now. I'm done.
I
Next
think
thing
we
you
all
know,
cry that out sometime or another.
I started crying. First time in 10 years. And
Now, if
then
I'm not mistaken, you had your family present, correct?
yeah, my youngest daughter and my husband. And so they were just like, okay, whatever's going on with her, you know. So
Just like
when I
went on
started,
about their business.
well, when I started crying, when I realized I was crying for the first time in 10 years, then I went from crying to laughing. I was laughing. I'm like, oh my God, I'm
Thank you,
crying.
Lord.
I couldn't believe I was actually crying.
Yeah, Candy doesn't cry, y'all. She's not a crier. She's strong
Huh.
and a warrior.
And so, anyway, you know, it made me realize that night when God gave me the ability back to cry that He
Amen.
wasn't done with me, that I
You got
had work
stuff to
to
do,
do.
woman.
I had work to do.
You
And
betcha.
so, from what happened at that point was like, I told my husband, I told my daughters, I was like, you know what? He's not done with me. I said, I'm opening up my Facebook. I'm going public. I'm going to start talking to people. I'm
Amen.
telling people, you know,
Keep
this is
on
wrong.
talking. Scream it
This
at the
is
top of
wrong.
your lungs. Call it from the mountaintops. And that's
And
what we
then
want to tell all of you. Do that.
And well, and that's when I committed myself to that I was going to talk to my doctor that I had at the time about it.
Good for
And
you.
so I just took a deep breath and, you know, I prayed for like weeks on what to say.
It's not
And
easy,
so,
is it?
well, the morning that I left for that appointment to talk to him, I still had no clue what I was going to say.
Right.
And when I got to the office, I mean, I'm sitting on the table, I'm waiting for him to come in the door. And I'm like, you know, I still hadn't, you know, like I said, I prayed about it and God
Right.
didn't answer me. And then that
He
morning
waited,
when he
didn't he?
walked through the door, it was like, you know
The
what?
words were there.
It just came out and I just told him. And
Praise
it was
Jesus.
like, wow, I couldn't believe. And he didn't call me crazy or nothing. And it was like,
That's
and
awesome. I'm gonna cry because that
we
verse, be
still had
still and
this,
know that I'm God, right?
well,
In
we
case
still
in
had
his
the
good
same
times.
working relationship we always had. And I
There
was
you
so
go.
blessed. You know, I was so
You
blessed.
are just amazingly strong, and you know that. But you're right. All in God's good time. We don't have to understand, right? Be still and know that I am God. Don't lean on
Exactly.
your own understanding. You are like you've lived by those words, so
Well,
it's
and stand
amazing.
in your truth. And my theory, my quote too is stand in your truth. It's
Stand
your
in your
own
truth,
truth.
amen.
Nobody has a right to tell you any different.
No, and they're no
Nobody.
different than anyone. And just because people don't understand things, just remember, guys, there was a time when there was fibromyalgia nobody knew about or understood. There was a time with Lyme disease, which bioweaponry, and I have to string that out. But yeah,
No, no knowledge. No, no knowledge.
no knowledge, no knowledge. Mark and Mindy, no. So you guys know what we're talking about, and most of you, again, I know a lot of you are sufferers. But we have people also on here trying to learn about and understand Morgellons because it is extremely hard to understand. There is almost a science fiction side to this. That sounds like, well, that makes no sense. Everyone's looking for logic. Stop looking for logic. Sometimes, my friends, there is no logic. And just because we were raised with a cognitive response or, raised with an understanding according to, meaning according to somebody else, because, unless we look with our own eyes, feel with our own hands, and hear with our own ears, we don't know. We're never going to know unless we seek it out. And us two right here, and so many of you out there that have Morgellons, we're trying to let you know. You don't have us all over the world, scattered about throughout one side of the globe to the other, screaming the same thing, singing the same song, if it were a delusion. Plain and simple. Right, Candy?
Yeah, and then, well, another thing too, what happened was, you know, after that, a few years went by, and my nurse friend, she sent me a message on Facebook again. She said, it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. I was watching my grandkids. I was out of town. She
Right.
sent me a Facebook message and she said, have you heard? Your doctor's leaving the office. And I was like,
Oh,
what? Oh, no.
oh
So,
wow.
yeah, I had him for 13 years. So, I mean, I was like, I immediately, as soon as the office opened, I called him from out of town. I was like, I'm on my way. I need an appointment right now.
Amen. I'm
So,
going to put this on you and only you right now, okay?
So anyway, I get to this appointment, and I told him, I was like, I mean, I gotta be able to. I can't shut up about this. I need a doctor. If you're leaving, you need to recommend me somebody, because I need somebody open minded enough that's not gonna think I'm crazy and got a delusion or doing this to myself or whatever. And I was like, I can't do this. And I need you to help me recommend somebody. And he did. And well, actually, he recommended two doctors. He's like, well, one of them's getting his going to school for medical marijuana, and the other one's really open minded. I was like, okay, which one's more open minded? And he said the other one that he mentioned, the one that he said was open minded. I was like, I'll take him.
There,
So,
there you go.
yeah.
So, I
So
mean, that's what we all need. Like,
and
everyone's
and
got a
I
closed mind. They're structured,
Yeah, and
conditioned.
I promised myself too, the very first time that I was going to see this doctor, I was going to tell him the very first day that I saw him about this. I was not
Right.
going to hold back.
Good girl.
So actually, I winded up making an appointment, canceled it 3 times before I actually got there to do it. And he said to me,
You did it,
he's like,
though.
"Well, I see you had." Yeah, he said, "I see you had multiple other appointments that you canceled." I was like, "Well, yeah." I was
It
like,
was
"Well,
kind of
here's why,"
hard.
and I gave him yeah, well, I gave him this pre-typed up letter that I had typed about it and told him about it. And then I had took my laptop with me. I had pictures and videos on it. And so he reads the letter and he said, um, he turns around, he looks at me. I had pulled up my pants leg to my right leg. I said, "You see anything wrong with this leg?" He said, "No." I said, "Yeah." I was like, "Now look at the pictures behind you on the laptop." And when he
Whoa.
saw the pictures of my right leg, what it used to look like,
Wow. So
he
you
just
took a laptop. You went to where it's like, oh no, you're not going to tell me different. You actually were ready. You were locked and loaded, right?
Yeah, yeah, and
Good
I
girl.
was prepared, boy, because I was like, "No, we're not doing this again."
Yeah, so
So,
many of us go out in tears, like,
yeah,
or taken
and I was like,
away.
"No, not gonna make me cry no more." I mean, no.
Ain't
So,
gonna cry no more, no more.
yeah. So
You
anyway,
are one tough
he
cookie,
looked
let
at
me tell
he looked
you.
at the pictures. Well, he looked at the pictures, and his mouth was just he was just hanging there with his mouth open, like,
Compared to what he saw, compared to your leg now versus
yeah.
then, yeah,
And
good.
I said, "I didn't get any help with that." I said, "I did it myself. Me and God did that." Okay. And
Amen. We don't need doctors to get through this.
well,
Also,
and
I
then
mean, if
he
one
said,
chooses one, that's great, but
well, then
we
he
have the
said to
Lord
me,
God Almighty.
well, and he said to me, he said, "Well, you said something about fibers coming out of your leg." I said, "Oh, I got a live video for that." And I showed him the
He probably did like my doctor. Well, the one I tried turned away. Well, many I tried turned away. They refused to look after they caught a glimpse. They went like this. I mean, I'm not even joking. Like it's a
Well,
real deal.
when he saw the picture of the fibers, all those fibers I pulled out of my leg, he was like just looking in shock. And then all of a
Right.
sudden, his eyes started watering, and he looked like he was about to cry. And
Good.
then he
Good. He
realized that
needed to.
Well, then he realized that, I mean, we've all been lied to, all of us.
So he
And so
did.
he,
Okay, good. Then he didn't need to cry. I take that back.
so he,
I
no, he
mean,
got
thank the
angry.
Lord.
Well, then he got the angry look. He was mad. He was
When
mad
he
as
realized,
hell.
like, so he basically became awakened right at that moment. And
Oh,
thank
yeah.
you because you awakened him. Are you woke? Not woke. Not the same woke people are being told about politics. We are awake. We are conscious. And she apparently made a doctor come to his consciousness as into the reality of what this world really is, because that's the next thing I'm going to get at, Candy. When you are conscious, you start noticing a lot of things, the lies, the truth about everything, not just this,
Mhm.
correct?
Yes,
You see
yes.
the world in its true light, and that's where the conditioned individuals like I once was, maybe you once were, you see it in the true light, and your cognitive response that you were trained, like since birth, this is this, that is that, your eyes see and your baby, and that's how it is, or you're told this in this ear, and out that ear is something else that's told to you, like, because we were conditioned to understand with our understanding through our eyes and our ears only the things we've been told, not by seeking the answers or searching for them ourselves. And I mean that means anything. So go on. Sorry about that.
Well, and so when I watched his facial expressions, I just knew that, he was human. He was a real human.
Amen.
I'm like,
So if we can
and
make just one person at a time, just one person, if we can touch them in some way, it is worth every bit of it, isn't it?
yeah, and so at the end of the appointment, I asked him. I said, "Well, I was like, do I need to find a new doctor? Or what do you got? Are
Very
you
because
okay
you
with
had
all this?"
someone, so
I was like, "Do I need to find a new doctor or not?" He's like, "No, we're good. I'll see you in 6 months." I was like, "Okay,
praise
thank
the
you."
Lord.
I left
Good,
there.
good.
I felt when I left there that day, I felt so empowered, and I was thanking God. I sat in my car and I just sat there and just literally cried.
I'm crying right now because there are so many of us, including myself, living in our little areas of the globe that we can't find anyone that understands. Like me, I went straight to the CDC in Houston and I couldn't find anyone. And you had an angel on your shoulder that day because you had a nurse that's like, something's wrong. I'm going to go home and research this. And she seeks what I found also myself without a doctor's help, but she sees that she believes in you and praise Jesus. She went straight to the point of you now knew what you were going through, which brought tears to your eyes because you went through that level of sadness, sorrow, tears, pain, madness, angry, all of the emotions that go with basically the loss of losing someone. We suffer that daily, and people don't realize this, but you went through all that, and you had these people that were like, no, I'm not leaving her yet. But what would you say for people like us? Because I know that you have the thing called doctor shopping, which I think is great. But what would you say if I said, like, maybe Florida's different because a lot of us have went doctor shopping many times, and I'm one of them, and it backfired. Like I went to the CDC, like that's the top of the chain, and they said, "Get out of my office, take your specimens." Refused to look. They immediately dubbed it again for the third time after, well, fourth time actually after several other doctors, delusional parasitosis. And I'm like, delusional my ass, look at this video. And they wouldn't look at the video. They refused. And I mean, I got, like you, all the proof in the world. You can't deny the crap. You just can't. But like your own family won't even look. So what do you say for the people like us that our families won't look, they won't believe because they're going off of a doctor's word, because doctors know, doctors are so smart. Like doctors could do surgery on me. They could give me this, that, and the other. They could like make my gallbladder come out, and like, who cares? Your doctor's just following the instruction of another doctor that taught them all that. But nobody realizes that. But what do you say for us that we can't find doctors in our places where we are? I think people are coming to term, but what do we do? Because I know you have some self-help, like homemade remedies and recipes that have helped you through with this to at least ease it up. And I don't think there's a such thing as getting rid of this forever. It's everyone's got it. We just happen to
Right.
be spitting it out. Praise the Lord. So, what do
Right.
you think? What would you suggest to people like us?
Well, I will say this with my husband. When, like I said, that night I was down on the floor, I was trembling, I was being electrocuted. It was horrible. Well, the
Yes.
next morning when I woke up, I had these cobalt blue fibers sticking out of my arm.
Yeah, the
And
blue,
I
blue ones. I know what
I
you're
took,
talking about.
yeah, I took pictures and I took videos of it, and I deliberately left them all day long.
Mm,
So when he came home from work,
hard to
I
leave
said,
those too.
I need you to see this. He's like, I don't want to see that. I was like, you're gonna see
Refuse to
this.
look. Yeah.
I said, if
My
you
dad
love
tortured
me,
me the most.
if you really love me, you need to understand and know that I am not crazy. And the reason why I was down there on that floor last night being electrocuted is because these wires was trying to push their way through my arm.
It hurts
I
so
said,
bad.
so you need to understand and know that, when people say, oh, well, she's
Yeah.
delusional, or she's making this up, or she's doing it to herself. I said, you are my husband. And if
You
you
should
don't
of all
support me,
people.
then nobody will. I said,
So,
so
with
yeah,
that
you're
said,
going to see
I
it.
the same thing to my dad. I begged and pleaded. I didn't have anyone, not a husband, none of my family actually. I think
But I didn't
that
ask, Lisa. I didn't
no. I mean,
ask
I
him.
like think it's so wonderful that he finally came through. But I mean,
Well,
like my dad, like I would army crawl to the toilet, living in their basement, like cousin it, just to puke or just to get a cold washcloth put on my head. I mean, I have four girls, but three were moved away, but they didn't know, so of course they wouldn't believe it. They're not seeing things. But I mean, my mom and dad were right there. My mom totally believed, but she had had an episode years back where her mentality's like a 6-year-old. My dad has always been, I love my dad. He's amazing. He built a sailboat, sailed around the world, but my dad's boat was so mean. and he would laugh at me, evilly laugh. And to this day, I can show him like a video I've made of this stuff. And he evilly laughs in my face. You're crazy. I don't believe in that. Oh, by the way, take her away. She sees UFOs outside. Now, keep in mind, that was a year prior to now where our government's come out and said, oh, yeah, no, there's totally, they're there. Our pilots see them too. By the way, people, unidentified flying objects. So get it out of your head that, like, that's crazy. Couldn't identify it. You're welcome. But so did you go through that with them at all? Like something like that? Because I know I'm saying this for not just me, a lot of us. I talk to so many daily that have been crushed. Their spirits are crushed. So how did you handle that when you did, if you did?
Well, I think the biggest thing for me was when, like I said, that when I prayed and I decided, it's like God's not done with me.
Amen.
Was the biggest thing for me was losing my fear. The fear
Yes.
of what was going to happen next, what was going to come out of my skin.
The Lord didn't give us a spirit of fear.
Yeah, what people were going to think, what my doctors were going to say.
Who gives a crap, right? After that?
Yeah, it's like,
I mean,
okay.
when you lose everything, you gain everything, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah, I was
afraid. You gain power. You're empowered by that.
I was afraid to eat. I was afraid to go anywhere. I was afraid to be around anybody.
Right.
And I'm like, this was ridiculous.
I mean, when you lose everything, you mean I like lost friends too. So you're right. You just be you. So
yeah,
that's what you do.
Yeah, and I mean, I have lost family members. I have lost friends. I've had people laugh at me. Been called a crackhead, a meth head, a crack whore, a tweaker.
Yeah, you never lay a finger on drugs in your life, and you get called these names, and it's not fair. It's not fair. People that are watching this that didn't know about Morgellons prior to now, don't do that to people. If you see sores or lesions on people, trust me, the lesions are real. It doesn't have to be drugs, but maybe the people that have drugs, if they have those lesions, the reason they have those lesions is because that drug that they're doing possibly is poison. So in my opinion, in my mind, I'm putting two and two together. If you see a druggie with lesions, they have lesions because they poisoned the crap, the GMOs that are inside of us all, whether it be in your food, your water source, or the sky. And I don't care what you say, it's there. You can argue with me all day long, but I'm still going to win because you'll find out. But if you see those on them, they poison their body with drugs. So those things are trying to run the hell out. They're trying to get away. They're like, I'm poisoned. There's drugs in here. I mean, obviously it's drugs. Obviously it's not natural. So they run right out of their body. So maybe that was lucky for them that they did those drugs. I'm not saying go do drugs. Don't get me wrong. But, don't be too quick to judge people because you can look at Candy and you can see how severely she has been hurt by this and how she battles it every day, but how she laughs and she smiles and she's got humor and she's funny and she's loving and she's one of the best women I know. Honestly, top of my list, one of the best. Actually, anyone that has Morgellons is a warrior to me. But this woman right here, the struggle is real. But don't you dare judge. You don't know. And until you know, shut the hell up is all I can say. And I mean that for all of us suffering. And for you guys that are here watching, I don't mean it for you either because at least you're having an open ear. But her and I weren't so lucky at one time. And I'm still not so lucky. But I just don't give a shit anymore. So
right. Well, and I actually told my doctor that very first day. I said, I didn't know this was going to happen to me. Right. I didn't ask for it. I didn't cause it. I said, I didn't expect this. I said, and it just suddenly came on. And I said, just don't ever think that it couldn't happen to you or your children or your grandchildren or your mother.
Anyone I said, it can happen close and hold close. If it's a delusion, then apparently all of us are on the same line saying the exact same thing with the exact same delusion, which is impossible. It's impossible, guys. I don't know, 1 + 1 = 2, so that kind of equals that too. So come on now. But you're right, Candy, you're right. Nobody thinks about that, do they? And look what this girl has suffered. You can see her face. She said at one time it was all over your body, correct?
Oh, well, I've had, that's why I call it Morgellons syndrome. Because at times, my whole body was completely covered, and then rashes would come and go, and sores would come and go, and fibers would come and go, and crystals and nodules and everything would come and go. So that's a syndrome, not a disease.
That's what I agree with too. I mean, I realize that it's been dubbed that, so we kind of call it that just for reasons of people who have heard that. But Candy, and like I said at the beginning of the video, it is a syndrome. So you got two people telling you that. because Candy, I don't know if you saw this on my head. Like, look at this. It kind of came back. And
Oh,
when you and I got together, we both broke out really bad. So if you guys watched the prior video before this one, you'll see. But anytime we try to do something or go somewhere or interact with each other, it seems like bad luck follows. But that's Satan's way of trying so hard. The good thing about her and I, we're just like, oh well, let's try again. So here we are. Here we are. And what are they going to do? Oh, tell them
hey,
about your eugenics. I got to hear that again. That was so funny.
live to fight another day, you know?
Amen. The Lord didn't give us a spirit of fear. We are like, there's no way through the Father except for through Jesus Christ. So we're going to fight every day. I mean, He lives within us. But I need to hear the eugenics story again. I need you to tell the ones that didn't hear that first video the
Oh,
GMO story of the different, what your doctor told you. Start with that.
oh, so I had the last time well, not the last time I had surgery, but the last time I swore they were never cutting me again. I think it was 2009. So my doctor sends me to the plastic surgeon, right? They did surgery on both arms and my right leg in 4 places. They admitted me, sedated me. So I'm coming out of sedation, and the doctor that I had, he gets up close to my face and he says, "Never put Neosporin on your skin." And I'm looking at him really strange because I was like coming out of sedation. And he gets
Listen
down there and he
close,
whispers,
guys.
he said, "Did you hear what I said? Never put Neosporin on your skin." I'm like, okay, why is he whispering this to me? And so I get home,
Yeah.
a couple years go by, and I'm thinking about that. Why would he say that to me? So then I was thinking,
Ding, ding, ding.
Neosporin. And neo means new, spores in.
Hello.
Neospore in.
So you guys
So
brought
I'm
new
like,
spores
oh.
in. Yeah.
I
I mean, but
was
I
like,
love that,
okay.
that you're right. There's meaning and definition in these medicinal names. The pharmacia, they're so clever, so they think they're not so clever anymore because they kind of been figured out, right? What was that eugenics one? Tell us
Oh,
that
the
one.
nugenic.
Yeah.
Nugenic. New means new.
Mm-hmm.
Gen, DNA. And X means
Uh,
transfer or
oh,
crossover.
ta-da! I never thought about that. So, see? And what did you say about that? Just because
Oh, I, I said,
I'm sorry, I loved it. I was laughing.
what was it? I was like, oh, well,
Just
I can't
because you're
remember
good at this,
exactly, but something about,
something like
well,
that.
if nothing else, at least you'll be good in the bedroom.
Yeah, there we go. I was laughing. Shit, I mean, the girl's got a sense of humor,
cheat,
man. You got to
cheat,
give her that. But
hey,
you
you get
have
a
to have a
cheat.
sense of humor with this.
Cheat and never cheat on your spouse. Have a different one, but never
See, there
always
you
with the
go.
same spouse.
Enough said.
Oh God.
So, but I mean, if you and I both probably had to tell anyone like the moral concept of like how we feel inside, don't lay down. Do not take it. Do not let them steal your thunder, your glory, the person God made you to be. You are strong. You were created to be a warrior. You have a purpose. Feel lucky you're spitting this crap out where the rest of the world is more than likely holding it in. So, what would you say, Candy?
And you know what I always say? Just stand in your own truth because your
Stand in your
truth is
own
the only
truth.
one that matters. Nobody
Yeah,
else's
I
does.
love that. I love that. Stand in your own truth. I mean, we have to. We're not going to sit
Oh,
there and have
well,
to like
one
bow
thing
down and
too.
say, "Oh no, I don't really have this." And I actually had to tell the people that when I was taking 3 days away from my daughter at the time was 9. She had a lead role play. She was like, "Mom, are you going to come?" Oh, of course I'm coming. I don't miss anything. And then that morning, a police officer knocks on my door, and there's two of them, and he's like, "Miss Hicks," I'm like, "Yeah, I need you to come with me." I'm like, "For what? What I do?" He's like, "Well, you just got to come with me." And I'm thinking, I don't want to do anything. I don't even go anywhere. I don't even have any friends at this point because I had Morgellons and I lost everything in the world. Even my own family turned against me. And I know that they didn't mean to because they're not thinking and they weren't being themselves and they probably still aren't. But I know that's because something else has got a hold of them. But I had to go. And I was held 3 days. I was drugged up. I don't remember a thing. I don't even know how I got in their hospital gown. But apparently, they had to run me to the emergency room via ambulance from that facility because my heart rate and blood pressure went so far up through the roof. Like my top number was like 230 something, and I don't even remember, but I didn't even remember that. And apparently, I got back. And I woke up on the third day, meaning they stopped drugging me on the third day because I guess it's a 3 day stay, like 3 dog nights, yeah, kind of like that. So, long story short, they're like, "Miss Hicks, you can go home now." I'm like, had nobody to come and get me, didn't know where I was, what I was doing there. And I said, okay, so where's my stuff? They're like, well, you can go home now, but only if you promise us you will never speak of this again. Via verbiage, like word for word. That's what they told me. So if you go to a facility, a psychiatric house, because you're delusional, which, by the way, wait till you see Candy's slides and stuff that she left with me and some of my own. There's no delusion to it. There's not a million people throughout the globe saying this if it was a delusion. So just get that off your head right now, because if you don't, you're going to find out the hard way. That's all I can tell you. And if you don't, we don't care either way. We're here to tell you. We care. We're warriors. We're going to get through it. You're not, maybe, if you don't think like outside the box, because you have to. But I went home thinking I had to call someone to come get me. I called my sister. I didn't know who to call. I mean, I felt like nobody cares about me. I was discarded. Nobody loves me. I'm unworthy. And here I am so sick, and all this is happening. And I had for one moment that poor me, like, nobody loves me. I'm just discarded. But then I remembered, wait a minute. Big guy. He loves me so much that he got me through it enough to tell me, like, Lisa, you're going to either lay down and take it or you're going to stand up. But I didn't give you anything for you to just lay down and take it. That's the devil. And I gave you not a spirit of fear. So you stand back up, you be courageous, and you march into that war area, and you just proclaim yourself as the Lord's child. And don't worry about anything else or anyone else, because their judgment day comes. So, and Candy,
Well,
you are a hero because you're one of the
I would
first
like to
people I
say,
found
well,
online.
I would like to say something too about the doctor's appointments. Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, if you're going to go in and you're going to talk to your doctor about it, whatever
Be
you do,
careful.
have your facts together. Be stand in your own
Yes.
truth. Be honest. Have faith, and never, 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 no matter what you do not cry. Do not get
I'm a
angry. Do
crier
not
when
get
I feel hurt.
emotional. But I'm saying that they cannot say that you have a mental problem if you don't go in there mentally
It's not
unbalanced.
their place to decide anyway. You're
But I'm
right,
just
though.
saying,
Stand in
if
your
you
truth,
don't,
guys. Remember Candy's
yeah,
words, stand in your truth.
and like I said, if you go in there crying, then you're putting yourself in a mental state.
And you're also
If you're
making yourself very
angry,
vulnerable,
and then
which
even if
I
they
did every
say
time.
something to you, even if they say something to you that makes you angry, then
I
say,
cried harder.
like
I
I
had
had one doctor
nobody,
tell
though.
me, don't ever.
Nobody, not even a husband.
She said, ever She said, "Don't ever come in my office talking about those fibers again." She said, "Oh, I'll be
Yeah,
referring
I
you
was
to
told the same
psychiatrist and they'll
thing.
diagnose you." And I told her, I said,
Yeah.
first of all, I never said anything about butt. I said I had fibers.
Yes, you didn't.
Second
That's
of all,
right.
yeah. And I said,
They
second of
immediately
all, I
assumed.
said, you don't ever have to worry about me coming back in your office again talking about this because I won't be.
You are
you know,
welcome. Bye,
thank
Felicia.
you. I'll pay
You
my
are
bill when I
awesome.
leave, and
I love it.
find me another doctor.
So you guys hear this, right? If you are a Morgellons sufferer of Morgellons syndrome, keep in mind it is a syndrome. It is not a disease. It's a syndrome. But if you're sufferers, remember what Candy said. She went in there with locked and loaded, guys. She had her computer ready. She knew what they were gonna do. She wasn't a fool. And the doctor's like, no, and she's like, yep. And she showed him, and she woke somebody up that was sleeping through life. So praise God. And thank you, Candy, because you are a blessing to so many. I look online all the time at all of these, groups as I'm a part of as well. You were one of the first people I ran across. I admired you from day one, especially when you said you were 20 years sufferer. I thought, geez, I've already only been at this like 5 years. Like, how in God's green earth? And I think you and I both know we probably had it even longer than that now that we're looking back at things. But the point is, like, this woman, like, she laughs. You got to laugh. She doesn't let anything steal her thunder. She believes in herself. She believes in the good Lord above, and she is not going to stop, and neither should you ever. The Lord did not give us a spirit of fear. So, what would you like to
Exactly.
say in closing words, Candy? Because I got to go to my daughter's birthday party.
Well, thank you for doing this
Oops.
with me today. I really appreciate it, and I
No,
can't
thank
wait to do
you.
more.
I just want to thank you with all of my heart. We are having more coming up, more episodes. There's a whole long list. Please just keep staying tuned and subscribe. Subscribe if you haven't, because you will get the notifications whether we're live or whether we do something on the side. But this is important for the world to know. This is one of the most important things any of you could ever know about, learn about. And we're not saying we have the answers. I mean, but we're saying we have peace, and we can
We
give
have
you a
faith.
piece of our peace.
We have
right?
faith and we have no
Faith,
fear.
peace, love, and our arms are open wide to all of you. So if you want to leave your comments, your questions, put them in the comment section. We're going to go through them and we're going to, try to answer those with each, segment that we do. But just know you are loved. You are so loved. You are so strong. You are, and even if you don't have Morgellons, but the world has got you down, the world has put you in a place that you never dreamed you'd be or never wanted to be, just know you are so loved. And it doesn't take the appreciation of others around you to make you worthy or loved. What it takes is you loving and believing in yourself and knowing that you have us, like Candy and myself, you have us and other people, so many like us, that will make sure that we're here for you and you are God's blessing. You're a blessing, you're a warrior, and you're not going to fail. As long as you keep Him at the helm and you believe with all your heart, don't have fear. He didn't give you a spirit of fear. Believe in yourself, have faith. Have faith, right, Candy?
Good. Yep, absolutely. All
So
right.
you guys need to check it out, though. I am low battery on top of my daughter's birthday party, so I love you guys. Candy, I love you. Thank you so, so much for giving your
Very
insight.
welcome.
And we're going to be she's got home remedies like crazy that are excellent. Like, they've
On
helped me
Friday.
tremendously.
On Friday night,
Well,
right?
Friday? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We're going to Fridays, right? What did
Yeah,
we
Friday
decide?
night.
Yeah, we decided
Friday night.
Friday night. So we got to kind of work it around her family too, because again, nobody, like a lot of people don't know how to listen to this or understand it, especially if they're not in the element of having the disease or the syndrome. And she's still such a good wife, and she loves her husband, and she's so good to him. So good for her. And we're planning around that and around family time. Like my daughter's birthday's right now, so I'm going to go too. But I mean, stay tuned because Friday sometime. Friday, what time do you think?
Evening.
Friday evening. Just wait for just like I said, hit the subscribe button and wait for the notification. But Friday evening, we will be back. And Mrs. Candy Nelson will be here to give you guys some excellent, excellent advice and home remedies and you name it. She's like, she sends me stuff and I'm like, oh, this is great. So just wait. It's going to be exciting. So come back
All
every
right.
time.
Bye.
Bye, Candy. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Huh.
No, I got to know how to turn this
Figure out how to get out of
off.
here. Fixing to put the spaghetti. Sorry.